So I flew to the Philippines for one reason. My mom was turning 80, and you don't miss that. You just don't. I told myself it was going to be a quick trip. 1 week. In and out. Hug everybody, eat too much, cry a little at the party, fly home. That was the plan. But somewhere between landing at NAIA and sitting on my mom's porch with a cup of Barocco coffee at 6 in the morning, something happened that I was not prepared for. I started imagining staying, not visiting, staying. And now I'm back in California and I can't stop thinking about it, and I honestly don't know what to do with that. Let me back up. My name is Grace. I'm 61 years old. I've lived in the States since I was 24. That's 37 years. I came over on a work visa, became a nurse, married Danny, had 2 kids, bought a house in Chula Vista, paid it off, watched the kids leave, watched Danny leave too. That's a different story. And now it's just me and my daughter B. B is 30. She lives in Seattle. We FaceTime every Sunday, and she sends me reels of her cat doing nothing. I love her more than anything on this earth, but she has her own life and I have mine, and mine lately has been very quiet. Too quiet, if I'm being honest. I work 3 days a week at the clinic now, part-time. I could retire fully, but I keep going because if I don't, what do? Watch TV? Walk the dog I don't have? I've been asking myself that question for 2 years and I don't have a good answer. So when I booked this trip for Mama's birthday, it was supposed to be about her. But it turned into something about me, and I didn't see it coming. The first morning I woke up in my mom's house in Batangas, and I just lay there. No alarm, no schedule. The window was open and I could hear the roosters, 3 of them, because Kuya Bert next door raises fighting cocks and they do not care what time you want to sleep until. I could hear the tricycles buzzing by on the road. I could smell somebody frying garlic rice and it hit me like a wall. Not the smell, the feeling of not being in a rush. In California, my mornings are coffee from the Keurig, emails from the clinic, freeway traffic by 7:15. Here, I walked out to the kitchen in my tisanelas, and my mom's helper, Ate Nora, had already set out pandesal and a plate of mangoes and a pot of coffee so strong it could probably restart a dead car battery. I sat down and just ate. No phone, no news. My mom came out in her duster and sat across from me and started talking about her neighbor Tita Baby's daughter, who apparently married a Korean man and now lives in Busan. And did I know that Busan is very cold? And wasn't that going to be hard for a girl from Batangas? I did not know any of this. I did not need to know any of this. But sitting there listening to my 80-year-old mother gossip about Tita Baby's daughter while eating warm pandesal with butter, that was the happiest I had felt in I don't know how long. And that bothered me a little. Because what does it say about your life in America when one morning of doing nothing in Batangas makes you feel more alive than anything you've done in 6 months? Let me tell you about the rest of that week because it matters. Day 2, my sister Lorna, she's the one who never left. She's been here the whole time taking care of our parents. She took me to the Palenque, the wet market. And listen, I know the wet market. I grew up going to the wet market. But I had forgotten what it was like, the colors, the noise, the smell. Okay, some of the smell is not great. Let's be real. There's a reason they call it the wet market. But the fish. Oh my God, the fish. The galunggong was so fresh the eyes were still clear. Lorna knows everybody there. She walks through that market like a mayor. Aling Merli at the fish stall saved her the good pompano because Lorna always buys from her. Always. That's the relationship. You don't shop around. You have your person. Aling Merli wrapped the fish in newspaper and threw in extra shrimp and said, "Para sa birthday ni nanay," and refused to charge for the shrimp. I almost cried over free shrimp. That's where I was emotionally. We bought squid, kangkong, which cost me $4 for a tiny bag in California. Here it was 20 pesos. That's like 35 cents. We bought eggplant, the small ones, the cute round ones you can't find in the States. Tomatoes that actually smell like tomatoes. We took everything home and Lorna and I cooked in the dirty kitchen, and I need to explain that for anyone who doesn't know, a dirty kitchen is an outdoor kitchen. It's not dirty, it's actually genius, because all the smoke and the oil and the smell stays outside and your house stays cool. We made sinigang and tortang talong and grilled the squid over charcoal, and I swear on everything I love, that meal was better than any restaurant I've been to in San Diego. Total cost for food for the whole family that day? Maybe 800 pesos. That's about $14. I spend $14 on a salad in California that comes in a plastic box with a fork I throw away. Hold on to that number. I want you to remember it. Day 3 was the birthday. And this is the part that got me. My mom didn't want a big party. She said she was too old for parties. So what happened? The entire street showed up anyway. Tita Baby brought leche flan. Kuya Bert brought a case of San Miguel, even though nobody asked him to. The kids from the house at the end of the road, I don't even know whose kids they are, they were running around the yard screaming, and one of them called me Tita Grace from America, like that was my full legal name. Lorna set up a karaoke machine. My 80-year-old mother sang Dahil Sa'yo, and she was not bad. She was actually not bad. And my dad sat in his chair and watched all of it with this look on his face like he had everything he needed in the world right there in that yard. Nobody spent a lot of money. Nobody planned anything fancy. People just showed up. They just came. And they stayed. That doesn't happen where I live anymore. In Chula Vista, I know my neighbors' names, but I couldn't tell you what they do for a living or what their kids look like. Here, Tita Baby knows my mother's blood pressure numbers better than I do. That's a different kind of life. And sitting there that night, watching the fireflies in the yard and hearing my mom laugh at something Kuya Bert said, I had this thought that I couldn't push away. What if I came back? Not for a visit. For real. So I started paying attention to everything differently for the rest of the week, like I was testing it. How would this work? How would this actually feel every day, not just for a week? And here's what I found out. I found out that life here is slow in a way that either saves you or drives you crazy, depending on what kind of person you are. There is no rush. Nobody is rushing. The concept of being 10 minutes late does not exist because time doesn't work the same way here. Lorna told me she would pick me up at 10. She showed up at 10:45. She was not sorry. She was not even aware she was late. This is Filipino time. And when you're on vacation, it's charming. When you need to get to a doctor's appointment, I imagine it's less charming. But there's something underneath it that I think Americans don't understand until they sit in it for a while. When nobody is rushing, you actually talk to each other. Like really talk. Not the hey, how are you, good, how are you, that we do in America, where nobody actually answers the question. Here, you sit down, you drink coffee, you talk about your neighbor's daughter who married the Korean man, and that's not wasting time. That is time. I found out that having help at home changes everything. 8 Nora cooks, cleans, does the laundry, and she costs. And I felt weird even asking about this, but Lorna told me, about 5,000 pesos a month. That's around $90. In the States, a house cleaner comes once every 2 weeks for $150, and you still do everything else yourself. Here, you have someone. And when you're 61 and your knees already complain on the stairs, having someone is not a luxury. It's the difference between living your day and surviving your day. I found out about the senior discount. I was so excited about this. If you're 60 or older, you get 20% off at restaurants, at the mall, even at the movies. I showed my California ID at the cinema. We watched a play, Jesus Christ Superstar, and they gave me the discount. 20%. I felt like I won something. B would laugh at me, but I don't care. 20% is 20%. I found out that eating out is so affordable, it almost doesn't make sense. I asked my dad, "How much do you and Mama spend when you eat out?" He said 700 to 1,000 pesos. That's $12 to $18 for two people at a real sit-down restaurant. Sometimes they splurge and it goes up to 1,500. That's $27 for a special dinner. In San Diego, $27 doesn't even cover appetizers and one drink. If you ate out once a day here, and I mean a proper meal, not fast food, you could probably do it for about $400 a month for two people. That's less than what I spend on groceries alone. I found out about the healthcare question, and I want to be honest about this because this is the part I don't have figured out. Medicare doesn't work here. If you retire in the Philippines, you're paying out of pocket or you're buying local insurance. My sister takes my parents to their doctor, a private doctor who actually gives you his cell phone number, which blew my mind, and a consultation is about 500 pesos, $9. Same day, no waiting 3 weeks for an appointment. But for anything big, for surgery, for hospital stays, for the serious stuff, you need a plan. Lorna told me about PhilHealth and some private HMOs that aren't that expensive, maybe a few thousand pesos a month, and they cover a lot. But I haven't looked into it deeply enough to tell you it's all going to be fine. I don't know that yet. And healthcare is not something you can wing. That's one of the big honest things I have to sit with. Now here's the other side. Because there is another side, and I'm not going to pretend there isn't. The traffic. Dear God, the traffic. Going to the mall with Lorna took an hour and 15 minutes for what should have been a 20-minute drive. Manila traffic is a different species of traffic. It's not just slow, it's alive. It moves and stops and lurches and honks, and at some point, you just surrender to it. Lorna is used to it. I wanted to scream into a pillow. And parking, with all these cars now, parking is a nightmare. Lorna dropped my parents off at their doctor's office once, and it took her 45 minutes to find parking. By the time she found a spot, they were already done. She said sometimes she just uses Grab, which is like Uber here, and honestly, that might be the smarter move. The heat. The heat is biblical. It was May, which is summer here, and I was sweating through my clothes before I finished breakfast. The air is heavy. It sits on you. If you don't have aircon at home, you are not sleeping. You are lying there marinating in your own regret. I understand now why every mall in the Philippines is freezing cold inside. It's not air conditioning. It's a public service. This is the part that kills me. B would not survive this heat. She gets cranky when it's 78 in Seattle. This is 95 degrees with humidity that makes 95 feel like 110. And B is my person. If I'm going to do this, B has to at least be willing to visit, and if every visit feels like she's dying, that's a problem. And the little things, the things that stack up, errands that should take 30 minutes take 3 hours because of traffic and heat and lines and the general pace of things. By the time you get home, you're exhausted, and you didn't even do anything. You went to the bank and bought soap, but you're done for the day. In America, I handle 12 things on a Saturday morning. Here, 3 is ambitious. So here's where I am. Here's my honest confusion. On the money side, I could do it. My Social Security plus my small pension comes to about $2,100 a month. In Chula Vista, that's a joke. My rent alone is $1,750. After rent, I have $350 for everything: food, gas, insurance, electric, my phone, and apparently $4 for Kong Kong. That math doesn't work, and I've known it doesn't work, and I've been pretending it works by pulling from savings that won't last forever. Here? Lorna and I sat down one night with a calculator and a bottle of cheap red wine that cost 200 pesos, $4 dials, and we ran the numbers. Rent for a decent 2-bedroom in Batangas, not Manila. Maybe 8,000 to 12,000 pesos. Call it $200. Electric with aircon, because I'm not an animal, $50 to $70 depending on the month. Water, almost nothing. Internet and phone, $20. Food for one, Cooking at home mostly with the occasional eat out, $200 to $250. 8 Nora or someone like her, $90. Medicine and doctor visits, $30 to $50. Emergency fund set aside, $100. Let's call it $800 total. That leaves me $1,300 a month. I would be saving $1,300 a month. A 61-year-old nurse from California, saving money. In retirement. That's the number that keeps me up at night. Not because it scares me, because it makes too much sense. And when something makes that much sense and you're still not doing it, you have to ask yourself what's really stopping you. And I think what's stopping me is the stuff you can't put on a spreadsheet. B is in Seattle. My son Marcus is in Austin. We're not close the way I wish we were. He's got his dad's stubbornness, and I've got mine. And the divorce left marks on him that I still feel guilty about even though it was the right thing to do. But he's my kid. And being a 14-hour flight away instead of a 2-hour flight away, that's a weight I don't know how to carry. My friends in Chula Vista, Marlene and Pat, my nursing crew, we've been through everything together. Night shifts, divorces, menopause, the whole terrible, beautiful mess. Could I leave them? Would we really keep in touch? Or would it be like every other friendship that says we'll FaceTime and then slowly doesn't? And here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. If you leave and you stay away long enough, the life you left seals up behind you. It doesn't wait for you. Apartments get rented. Friend groups close the gap. Your spot at the table fills in. I watched it happen to my parents when they moved back here. Their American friends meant it when they said, "We'll stay in touch." They meant it. And then life happened, and the calls got shorter and further apart. And eventually, it's just a comment on a Facebook photo once a year. That's not malice. That's just how distance works on human beings. But then I think about that other list. The list of what I'd have if I came back here. My mom is 80. My dad is 82. How many more birthdays do I get? 2? 5? 10 if I'm lucky? Every year I spend in California is a year I'm not with them. Lorna is here. We laughed harder in 1 week than I have in a year. Ate Nora already treats me like family. Kuya Bert offered to fix my mom's leaky faucet and then just did it without being asked and wouldn't take money, just accepted a plate of pancit. Aling Merle at the market would save me the good fish. I would have a person at the fish stall. Do you know how long it's been since I felt like I had a place somewhere? Not a house. A place. A spot in the fabric of a community where people know your name and your coffee order and your mother's blood pressure. And the lifestyle, the slower pace, the mornings with Pandasol, the dirty kitchen, the karaoke, the kids calling me Tita Grace from America, the sunsets that I didn't even mention but I should. The sunsets here last longer than they have any right to. This golden light that spreads out over everything and makes even Kuya Bert's fighting cocks look poetic. So yeah, I'm confused. Before this trip, B and I had already decided. Retire in California, stay close to the kids, keep Medicare. That was the sensible plan. And I still think it's a good plan, on paper. But this trip put a crack in it, because retirement isn't just a math problem. It's not just about healthcare and proximity and checking boxes. It's about how your days feel. And my days here felt full in a way that my days in Chula Vista haven't felt in a very long time. I'm not saying I'm moving. I'm not saying that. I'm not that brave yet. But I'm not saying never anymore either, and that's new. Maybe there's a middle way. Maybe I come for 3 months. December, January, February. When it's winter in California, and the weather here is actually bearable. The cool months, relatively speaking. Come home to Batangas, be with my parents while I still can, eat Ailing Merle's fish, let Ate Nora spoil me, reconnect with old friends from school who I haven't seen in decades, except on Viber group chats where we send each other memes and prayer emojis, then fly back to the States, see B, see Marcus if he'll have me, keep my foot in both worlds. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe you don't have to choose. Or maybe that's what I'm telling myself because choosing is terrifying. I don't know. But I know this. I left for 1 week to celebrate my mother's 80th birthday, and I came home with a question I can't put down. That little house in Batangas with the roosters and the mangoes and the karaoke. That version of my life is real. I can see it. I can taste the sinigang. I can hear Lorna laughing in the other room. And the version where I stay in Chula Vista and pay $1,750 for an apartment I barely enjoy in a city where nobody saves me the good fish, that version is real too. And I'm supposed to pick 20 people in a yard singing happy birthday versus an apartment where the loudest sound is the refrigerator humming. That's the math that doesn't fit on a calculator. I'm still confused. And maybe that's okay for now. Maybe confused is just the word for someone who finally realized they have a choice they didn't know they had. So, let me ask you, have you thought about it? The Philippines, or wherever your heart pulls you. Are you doing the hybrid, a few months here, a few months there? Or have you already made the jump? Tell me in the comments because honestly, I could use the company right now. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for staying with me through this one. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.